In this video, we are going to go through the ReadMyMind function. In this function, we are going to start by choosing or assigning a random integer between 1 and 10, and we're going to call that n. The way that we're going to do that is using this line of code. You can click the link here to read more about this rand_i function, but essentially it will create or generate a random number between 1 and whatever number you put here. So to do a random number between 1 and 10, you do rand_i with 10 as an input. And then we're going to make the user guess numbers until their guess is correct. So another way to think of this, remember in MATLAB we don't program until, we program while. So while their guess is not correct, we're going to tell them guess again, guess again, guess again. And the way that we're going to prompt the user to guess is using this line here. And again, your code should run until guess is equal to n, or while guess is not equal to n. So let's go to MATLAB, start a function, ReadMyMind. This is a special function because there's no input and there's no output. Everything's going to be done through this user-generated input. So this kind of interactive design here. So first we're going to generate a random integer between 1 and 10. So we're going to do that using the line of code that I gave you. So rand_i will generate a random integer. And then we're going to say, we're going to give the user a chance to guess this number. Because in order to compare their guess, so we're going to do something like while the guess is not equal to n, we're going to do something. But in order to compare guess to n, we need to define both those values before this line. So we're going to start with guess equals input, enter an integer between 1 and 10. You can make that sound better. You can say, read my mind. What number am I guessing? Or what number am I thinking of between 1 and 10? And the user will input a number. That number will be stored as guess, which will then compare to here. So in our while loop, while the guess is incorrect, we want to give the user another chance to have another guess. So let's try this out. Go into the command window, read my mind, enter an integer between 1 and 10, 5, 3, 2, 1. So the integer was 1. You can see that we stopped, so we can make this user experience better. 1, there should be a space here, so it doesn't look like 103. We could also, after we end, we could display you guessed correctly. The number was, and num to string of n. So that will form a string that says you guessed correctly, the number was, and we'll print whatever the number was. And maybe we have an exclamation point. So going back to MATLAB, let's try this again. Read my mind. 1, 2, 3. You guessed correctly. The number was 3, and it'll be a different number each time. Well, it could be the same number more than one time in a row, but it's going to be random each time, or pseudo-random, which you can read more about that if you click the help page that I linked. One more thing that we can add that makes it kind of fun or evil for whoever's using it is we can add a sound every time they guess wrong. So MATLAB has some built-in sounds that you can use, and one of them is laughter. It's a really long sound and it's kind of obnoxious. So we could load laughter. We could even say display. Oh, maybe we shouldn't laugh until. So our laughter should actually go here, because after guessing, you could be right. So we don't want to laugh at them if they're right. We just want to laugh at them if they're wrong, which is when we'll get to here. So as soon as we're right, we won't go to those two lines. We could maybe display. You're wrong. So to put an actual apostrophe, you can put 2 apostrophes. We can also just avoid the apostrophe altogether. So I'm going to run this, but if you want to see what would have happened if we had put this under here, I recommend giving that a try and kind of playing around with the order of these lines to see what happens. You might see that if it's after, it's going to, even if we guess correctly, it's going to laugh at the person. And then we could also add another sound. So these 2 lines just add, it loads a sound that is stored in MATLAB called laughter, and then sound will play that sound. There's also that sound right there. That's like the hallelujah sound. So it'll play that once we guess correctly. Just a little way to make our function a little bit more fun. Oh, no. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Yeah, so again, play around with changing the order of your lines, see what happens. And that was another example using a while loop.